Friendships aren't always forever, even with the people that we think might be ride or die in our life. Sometimes they just fade with no drama, no nothing. They just go off into the distance.
And while it's okay to feel guilty or sad about losing friends, it's not the end of the world. So if your circle's gotten weirder or smaller, don't fret it. Let's talk about things to make it better.
And this is Jim, the guy who learned to let people go without chasing them, unless, of course, they've borrowed his tools.
And that's to have fierce, funny, and not afraid to let someone go, especially if they've let go of her. And together, we're Unretired AF.
Welcome to today's show, where we're going to be talking about when friendships fade.
Whew.
I know. But before we get into that, we want to thank our subscribers. We're a new channel. This is only our third week on YouTube. And we're so excited that we already have some subscribers. And we just want to reach out and thank you and let you know that it really means a lot to us that you have chosen to watch our content.
Absolutely. And if you do like us, please subscribe. Thank you.
Do it. All right. So getting into this concept of when friendships fade, and this is something that is certainly a unretired AF topic, because as we get older, it does seem to be a common thing.
Sure.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the reality of friendships after 60. And we know that as we go through life shifts. I mean, we have a lot of different shifts in life. We have issues with our health that impact our friendships. Sometimes we have friends that have gotten divorced, and that impacts those friendships. Sometimes people move away, or if it's somebody we work with, they get a different job. And
or they've chosen to just, all they're going to do is spend time with their grandkids and their family.
Right. Exactly.
And they don't really care not if they have friends.
Right. And we've definitely seen that
it
too. Or if some people are just assholes. It seems like we had a few of those too who just dropped us for no good reason. Right?
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of us, I would say, for us, we like to continue to grow. And a lot of people, that's not a big deal to them if they're comfortable and they have their grandchildren's or whatever floats their boat. We're always looking for the next adventure. We're always looking for new friends. And we're always looking for new things. So that's why we're a little different. And, you got to just put yourself in whatever you think's right.
But there's a lot of people in our tribe. There's a lot of people our age who don't think this is the end of the road. And who still want to grow, because those people, I think when you're going one way and they're going a different direction or stay in the same place, sometimes it's really hard to maintain those relationships. Don't you think?
A good friend of mine was like, he's the happiest he's ever been, and his family moved away. So he doesn't have to, he can have more me time and not have to dedicate things to doing. Because, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times from people. They seem to think that grandma and grandpa are always going to be the built-in babysitter. And they don't ask, and a lot of times they just dump off. And, just because you're over 60 doesn't mean you have plans to do fun stuff. So it's
But some people like that, though. Some people like that, and they sacrifice their friendships because they make that choice. And who can blame them? And that's not a good or a bad. We're not judging.
No,
it's just that you're going a different direction. Because right now Jim and I don't have grandchildren. And so we don't have that pull. So we would rather hang out with friends. We don't. It's not like we would rather. We don't have the option to hang out with grandkids because we don't have any right now. Well, and a lot of times our friendships are based on situational events. Like, for instance, we're friends with people because we worked with them. We wouldn't probably have ever been friends with that person had we not worked with them. And so when you are unretired, you really don't have anything in common with them anymore because you don't work together and you don't have that same sort of company gossip or whatever to talk about. Sometimes it's a neighbor. and they moved away, and you really didn't have a lot in common with. What? Was that good?
Yes.
Was that good?
The neighbor moved away.
And sometimes it is like, I know for me, I really experienced a lot of sadness when I became an empty nester, because a lot of my friends were other parents of kids that my son had activities with, whether it was sports activities or school activities. And then once the kids were grown, we realized we also didn't have anything in common.
Yeah.
Nothing really, no glue holding that relationship together.
Yeah.
So it's okay to let it go and not feel bad about it.
Yeah. And if it happens to you, you're not the weird one. Don't think you're weird just because people are not, that you don't have commonality with people anymore, that you're doing your thing and they're doing that.
Or that you're losing friends.
Or that you're losing friends.
Right.
It's just, I'm going to go back to the growth. You're growing and you're changing and they're not.
That's one aspect of it. And I think the other aspect of it is when you're younger, I think you need more friends. I think you need more approval from people.
Right.
And as we get older, we don't really give a crap.
Right.
We don't need that same level of approval from our friends.
Yeah.
And I think we also need a lot of advice from our friends when we're young. So we don't know what the hell we're doing in a lot of things. So we're looking to them for guidance.
Sure.
And as we get older, we don't have that same need.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
So, all right. Well, on the next topic, the stuff we don't talk about. Because there is stuff that as we get older and maybe even when we're younger, that we don't talk about. And the first one is, it's okay to feel sad. I mean, I had one really good friend. I mean, we were really good friends. And she moved to another state and we kind of fell out of touch. And it made me really, really sad when that happened.
Yeah. And the other side of that is it's okay to feel relieved.
Yes.
Sometimes when friends decide to part, sometimes it's a relief and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It happens.
It is true, especially if it's a relationship that you didn't really sign up for.
Right.
Like sometimes those I don't know, my son had like other parents from teams he was on in sports, and you don't even really want to be friends with them. Sometimes you just feel like you have to be because you don't want to rock the boat and whatnot. But then once you don't have that obligation anymore to see them, it is a relief to just let those go. And I think part of the aspect of having friendships fade away that's most puzzling to us is when there's not been a fight or a disagreement or anything that has been confrontational or emotional that's come up to cause it. You just drift away. You just stop calling each other.
Yeah.
You stop staying in touch. You don't think about each other as much.
Yeah.
And so you're not reaching out. That's the one I think that for many of us is the most perplexing, because we don't understand why that's happening.
Or, you're the one always, and you look back and you're the one that's always tried to make the connection. Right. You're the one that's always tried to get them to do something.
Right.
It's always, kind of a one side.
Right.
And, you should never, ever feel guilty about not keeping in touch with someone.
Right. And
because it's a two-way street. If they wanted to talk to you, they could reach out to you just as easy as you can reach out to them.
Well,
so don't have any guilt involved in it.
And so the next subject is going to be on this topic is signs that it's time to let the relationship go. And the first one is if it feels forced. I mean, if you feel like you have to put it on your calendar to remember to contact somebody, and when you get on the phone with them, it's like really hard to find something to talk about. Or if you keep making plans and one of you cancels on the other one and it never seems to work out, that's a kind of feeling forced too. Yep. And it's time to let that go. We're too old. We're just too old to do things we don't want to do.
Exactly.
Or things that aren't fun or aren't enjoyable or don't contribute. Fun sounds sort of shallow, but things that don't contribute to our life, that don't enrich us, that don't bring us joy, that we just feel obligated to, because that's what that feeling forced kind of is about a sense of obligation.
Yeah.
That's time to let that relationship go.
And as Tav said, one-sided.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in some, and we've been the ones to step back and say, look, and not tell them directly to their face, but when you're always the one reaching out, when you're always the one paying for dinner, when you're always the one offering to do stuff, and it's never reciprocal, that's no fun. Yeah. That's no fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it's not a sign of respect, but it kind of is. And, if somebody always is going to take and never be a giver, I'm not about that.
But it isn't just about that. I mean, the one-sidedness could also be in you're the one that always reaches out and tries to facilitate the relationship, and they don't ever do that. And I think it's not. I think it isn't even a. It isn't even necessarily disrespect. I think sometimes it is, but I think sometimes it's not. I think what it is, and you and I had that with one who we thought was a good friend, and then we realized after about 2 years of us constantly fostering that relationship, and it was never coming back to us, that we realized, actually it happened with 2 different friends, but one specifically that comes to mind, that they really weren't our friend. They were just wanting to get leads for business because we were all in the same industry.
Right.
And so I think you have to step back and realize they don't view the relationship the same way that you do.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a negative. It's just that you have to realize that if you're always the one reaching out to go out to dinner, you're always the one touching base, how you doing, and they never do that, you're not a priority for them. You're not what they consider friends. So it's not necessarily that they're bad. It's that they don't put the relationship at the same weight as you do.
Right.
And you got to recognize that.
Yeah. I can say for me, I have very few friends, but a whole lot of acquaintances.
Yeah.
There are very few people that I can call if I'm in a bind and say, hey, I need help, that'll drop everything and come right away. I do have those people in my life.
Right.
But I got a heck of a lot of acquaintances.
Right.
The thing about it, we always want to feel important in a relationship.
Yeah.
Whether it's with, a buddy, a fishing buddy, a guy you're going to play golf with. I mean, hopefully you weren't the last one he called because he needed to fill a foursome up. But, it's just, if you're going to be close with people and want to be close with people, you want to feel important about it. Not as, because you had to.
If you feel drained all the time, I had a girlfriend who I adored in college. I loved her. But honestly, I knew that every time the phone rang and it was her, I had to look and make sure that I had an hour to be able to have a conversation with her. And when we got together, she had a lot of drama always going on, but that was kind of the exciting part of the friendship with her. She always had so much going on, and I was more of a introvert, so I had less stuff going on than she did. So she was always telling me stuff, and she was talking a mile a minute, and she would talk over me, and she would talk and talk and talk and talk. I mean, honestly, on the phone, I could put the phone down, go use the restroom, come back and pick it up, and she would not have missed a beat or even realized I was gone. But I started to realize that after spending time with her or even being on the phone with her, I would feel drained. I would not feel energized being with her.
Yeah.
I would feel really drained. And so even though I enjoyed her company and stuff, you have to really protect yourself and guard yourself against those really draining relationships, whether it's emotional draining or financial draining or whatever it is, or they're asking you for favors all the time to do stuff. That draining is difficult.
Yeah. And it's real quick. You can see someone if you've known them for a number of years. If you've changed and they haven't. Right. So if you're the one always reaching out and they never do, but they used to,
right?
You don't know if you're good enough friends, you're not going to know if they're having financial problems or something. But, anybody that's a friend to say, hey, money's tight, we can't do that. I respect the heck out of that.
Yeah.
And you never mind doing that. It's, to me, and it's not about the money, but it's the surprise when you expect them to do something and they don't. And
Right.
you've changed and they haven't. And,
well, and that can apply to a lot of things.
Sure it can.
Like, for instance, a lot of you guys know that that Jim and I are doing the HCG diet right now. We're on day 34 today. I'm down 21.6. Jim is down
40.8.
So we've done really well on it. But one of the things that we've changed in the fact we've changed how we're eating.
Yep.
And so, we have friends who eat how we used to eat, who would probably encourage us to eat bad. So it's not necessarily that they're bad, but we've changed in how we eat and they don't. And the same thing can go, let's say you were a big partier and you quit drinking and, you've changed and they're still partying and you don't want to, you don't want to, or you can't be around that.
Yeah.
So those kind of things tell you it's time to sort of let that relationship go.
Yeah.
If they bring things to your life that are harmful, when you've tried and worked really hard to make changes for you, not judging them that they're still doing those things, because it might not be a problem for them.
Yeah.
But if it's a problem for you and you've worked really hard, you don't want to hang around people that are still doing those things that you've changed.
Yeah.
From.
The one biggest thing for me, I wouldn't call it a pet peeve, but definitely a deal breaker, is if they always need something.
Yeah.
Or
if that's the only time they call.
Or if that's the only time they call.
Right, right.
That's what's
because I don't mind, and you don't either. We help our friends. We're always
sure we do.
We're always willing to help our friends.
Sure.
But we also have some people who only call when they need something.
Yeah.
They don't ever call to check on us. They never are available when we need help.
Right.
They're just needy and always need something. And
yes.
thankfully, we don't have those people in our life anymore. We used to.
Acquaintances.
But Jim and I are not the type to tolerate very much bullshit.
No.
Honestly, I can say I never have. Now, I have family members and friends who really get taken advantage of by their friends in that specific category.
Yeah.
We've never been like that because, number one, we always have been, I can say I've tamed down since my 20s. I've always called an ace an ace. I've always called people out on their bullshit.
Yeah.
But, in the same way, I respect if they call me out on mine too.
Yeah.
Because I want to be the best version of myself and not ever being self-reflective. That's not the way to grow, for sure. But you know what we're talking about. Those people, they always have drama. They always have crisis. They're always broke because they don't know how to manage their money, or they've got a lot of family problems because they don't know how to manage their kids.
Right.
Or they've got work problems. They don't know how to hold down a job because they're idiots or whatever. I mean, we all know those kind of people, right? So, yeah. All right. Well, the next section on this topic is making peace with it. Making peace with it when those friendships fade away so that we can move forward. And I guess the one of the top things to how to make peace with it initially is resist the urge to fix it. I'm a fixer. Jim's a fixer.
Yeah.
We see problems. We want to fix them.
Right.
We're neither of us are super empathetic in the traditional sense where we want to let people cry on our shoulder and vent. That's just not how we're built. We're built more of, if we hear those problems, we want to fix them.
Yeah.
Our mind's just looking for solutions. And so for people like us, especially on relationships that really matter to us that aren't based on anybody acting inappropriately or disrespectful or whatever, but just relationships that fade, we have to resist that urge to try and find a way to fix it, because some things aren't meant to be fixed.
Right. And we're kind of just trying to cherish the memories, remember what they are, and move on.
I mean, the next way, I guess, to make peace with it is to realize that the easiest and cleanest break that you can have with the relationship is the no drama kind. And honestly, I think at our age, it's the most common. I mean, I can't, when was the last time we even had a fight with anybody? A friend. I don't think we.
Well, every time you drive.
Well, those aren't friends. Those are bad drivers. So.
And it's okay to outgrow people.
Yes.
You can just move on. Enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to enjoy your life for you but you.
All right. Well, I guess the takeaway from today's episode is find your tribe.
Yeah.
And don't worry about hanging on to things where it's time for them to go.
Right. And it's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late. Don't settle for something you want to do.
It's never too late to make new friends.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people out there who share your hobbies, your interests, that are looking for friends too. So don't settle for if you have some shitty friends you don't want to be friends with anymore, or that are drifting away, just don't settle with that. Look for people that are part of your tribe.
Yep.
All right. Well, if you enjoy our channel and you want to see more episodes of it, we post episodes Monday through Friday, and every weekday. So please subscribe if you'd like to see more.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. I'm not slowing down, are you?
Well, no, but we also would like them to comment. If they have any comments that they would like to make about our episode, ways that they have dealt with relationship fade.
Right.
Right. And any ideas for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And please, again, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to us.
Yep. Subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Like this episode, please, and comment. And we promise we read every comment.
We will.
And if there's anything you would like to see us talk about, please make a note of that in the comments too.
Yeah.
And we are not slowing down.
And neither should you.
And together we're Unretired AF.